lunch with my grandpa, and we're talking about the business and stuff and how it's going good and things like that and how it's grown. And I was showing him pictures, and he made a comment afterwards saying, "I always knew you were going to be an entrepreneur when I asked you and your brother to move a pile of rocks one afternoon for me, and you asked me how much I was going to pay you." And so I don't know, maybe I've always had a hustler mindset or DNA in me. And I know growing up, my grandma always told me don't do anything for free. You know, it came back to bite her in the butt often because she tried to have me do chores on Sunday. And how much she paid me for the chores.
Yeah. Damn,
So,
grandma.
But so I think as far as just being an entrepreneur and just having a go-get-it mindset has definitely always been in my DNA.
Thank you for joining us here on the Health Before Fitness podcast. I'm your host, Shaun Nunes, and today I have none other than Mr. Jon Combs. Jon, thank you so much for being here today, brother. I'm really looking forward to diving in and explaining to the audience a little bit about who you are, where you've been, where you're at, where you're trying to go. You've got a ton of experience at your age, from being an athlete to being a business owner. And so I would just love to share. And then as well, your significant other is also right next door who runs her own business as well. So maybe we could even share a little of the dynamic of business and relationship and see what kind of value we can bring the audience.
Sounds good, brother.
Thank you so much for being here. So first off, tell me a little bit about yourself, just your upbringing and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, man. All right, so going on 27 in a month, about 3.5 weeks, right? It feels like a long time though. Always growing up, everyone always told me you're an old soul. Never knew what that meant until probably about a year ago.
Okay.
But throughout my upbringing, grew up in the Bay Area, San Jose, born and raised for the most part. Really early on in my childhood, we lived on the East Coast in Puerto Rico and New York. Started school in Puerto Rico, went to first grade in New York, and moved back to California. Lived in San Jose ever since. Went to first grade all the way through up until 8th grade in San Jose. Moved to Trace, California in 8th grade, which is probably a God-sent blessing or decision for my family. I was kind of going down the wrong path at that time in life and got mixed in with the wrong people. Maybe more so just from not really having a whole lot of male figure guidance or
growing up,
just getting to honestly be outside more than kids are nowadays. Getting into things that I shouldn't be doing, or just hanging out with people that were choosing to do the wrong thing, so to speak. You know, so. But hindsight, looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. I think it's definitely molded me into the person I am and allows me to be the trainer I am, the coach I am to the kids that I get to mentor and work with nowadays. I think the biggest thing for me that was challenging as a kid, though, in my own upbringing was see my father get taken away early on in my life. He went to jail early on. I didn't have a father figure for good amount of time in my life. It was just my mom raising me and my brother for a while.
How old were you when he first went away?
I was in 3rd grade. I was in 3rd grade. He actually just recently was released this past year.
He's been since 3rd grade up until now.
Yeah, so it's been a little while. It affected me big time when I was younger because I didn't really understand what was going on, but I could see what was going on. I have the memories of what went on.
Before he went in, or you mean when you went to go visit? Or
kind of both. Before, during the whole thing. I mean, obviously, early on, like when everything kind of first happened, and he went away, him and my mom were still together. They were still in a relationship. We'd go and visit them, and middle of bumfuck Egypt, out in the middle of nowhere. Excuse my language, but I remember long drives, 300+ mile drives to go visit him, and this is at a really young age, so these memories stuck with me for a long time. They always were also like fuel for me though too, to kind of make sure my life never went in a certain direction, or and even with that being said, I still ended up choosing to do things that could have led me down that path, things that could have easily put me in that same position he was in. But like I said, when my family chose to move from the Bay Area, from San Jose, and move to Tracy, it was almost like a blessing in disguise. You know, it was tough, it was challenging for all of us. It was completely different. We were used to like a fast-paced lifestyle.
Bay Area.
Yeah, Bay Area lifestyle, and it was go, go, go all the time. You know, traffic like crazy. People are going from place to place. You know, families are helping each other get from place to place, things like that. It was, you know, like I said, go, go, go. We moved to Tracy, it was a lot more quieter. It smelled like cow shit everywhere.
Yes, it did. Kind of still does,
it was,
maybe.
Just a little bit, not too bad. Smell, maybe it got masked or
getting used to it, or yeah.
But it was just a slower pace, and it allowed, I think, myself for sure, just slow down and kind of realize what, you know, take in life more so, and kind of realize what was in front of me, what opportunities were in front of me. I was fortunate to meet some great people like yourself, like many of the coaches that I had at Tracy High School, who helped mentor me and helped shape me into honing my aggressiveness as, you know, as an athlete, or, you know, just maybe even as an Aries, just having a short temper. But being able to channel my frustrations and energy in the right direction, in the right way of life, to essentially lead to where I'm at today. But like I said, it helped me slow down. It helped me realize what was in front of me. And fortunately, I was able to connect with coaches, though, that helped me get to college. College was something that was not even in the forefront. It wasn't even in the vision growing up in the Bay Area. Yeah, you know, I idolized all these different athletes and loved playing basketball, wanted to go play at Duke for Coach K, but had no clue what it even entailed to play at Duke University. Mm-hmm. So those little things, those little intricacies of life, you know, you always have people that tell you you're great, you do this, do that, but they don't really show you how to do it, or help you understand what the process is to get it. Yeah, they don't walk with you, or they don't really even give you kind of a blueprint to do it. They just say, go do it. Yep. Go figure it out, you know, and which is fine. I guess that's kind of on, you know, kind of helps me in my own coaching perspective nowadays. And I took a phrase from the Rutgers baseball coach called FITFO. It means figure it the F out. So he tells his baseball players this in reference to getting them to just figure out life. You know, you got classes, you got practice, you got all kind of things going on. Food, sleep, girlfriend problem, whatever it is. Life. But you got to show up. You got to put on your best performance. You got to give your best effort every time you get on the field. If something's not going your way, FITFO. Figure it out. Yeah. You know, you got a test that is due at the end, or you got a test at the end of the week, a paper in the middle of the week, and you got a road trip at the start of the week. Figure it out. Yeah. You know, you got to make it happen. And then no differently in life, when you find yourself at a crossroad and you got to pay some bills or something, and you're a little short on cash, you figure it out. Everyone does. You know, you figure out a way. And at the end of the day, I think when people are able to slow down and get out of the go, go, go pace of life, which is, I think, so common to everyone, it's just how fast, you know, some people's lives go a little faster than other people's lives in a day. Everyone has the same 24 hours, but some people really, really maximize their time. Some people just go nonstop, and they have a lot of, like you said, distractions going on.
They're busy, but maybe not productive.
Exactly. And I think when people slow down, they're able to realize, though, that there's a lot more opportunity in the day to maximize time, to maximize their own potential, to reach their goals, and to do these things that people have always told them, you're great at this, you're great at that, you should do this, you should do that. So, I mean, going back to growing up, I had a mom who, she raised me and my brother. She was a single mom for a while until she met my dad. He was my stepdad at the time. He's dad to me now till the day I die. And that's Mike Robinson.
He's still present in your life.
He's still present. He was, they're together to this day. He just had a birthday. Happy birthday to him again. But he was the father figure for me. He was the mentor. He was the coach. He was the best friend, the number one fan, number one supporter.
Everything you could ask for.
Everything you could ask for. But at the same time, he was also very real with me. He was very realistic. He never sugarcoated things. He didn't tell me I was good when I was not. He didn't tell me I was great when I was
no eighth place trophy.
Exactly. Huh? There's no eighth place trophy. It was, you're either doing it or you're not. And I think that was the biggest thing I needed in life for sure.
You liked that.
I loved it. It was difficult in the moment, but again, hindsight, looking back and looking at all the things that I was able to overcome in life up to this point, that was a huge foundation for me, was having somebody say, you're either going to do it or you're
Tell
not.
you how it is.
You know, exactly tell you how it is and just keep it real with you. And
Built that tough layer a little bit, right?
yeah, he was actually, the way my parents met was, my dad was my younger brother's baseball coach. So that's how they met. So for me, like sports at the time, my dad had just left. You know, life was kind of taking a change. I was hanging out with the wrong people, not listening to the right things that I should be, and you know, kind of getting this dark image built up of my dad. You know, my current dad, my present dad, and the man who essentially became my dad.
Father figure.
You know, that father figure for me. Just listening to outside voices, but again, some people like to talk just to be heard, and some people talk to be educated. So those are the good and the bad.
Did he talk at you? Did he talk to be heard? Did he talk because he just enjoyed hearing himself talk? Or
He always talked to teach. He always, and I think for me as well, that's kind of how I am nowadays as well. Is I talk to teach. I don't talk for no reason.
Talk.
Yeah, I don't talk to talk. I got better things to do.
Yeah, it's not about you. It's about what value you can bring.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that was the biggest thing with him. Always keeping it real with me was that he was going to tell me how it was, because if it was a problem, we were going to find a solution. If things were already good, how we're going to get better. And it was always continuous growth. How do I continually help you get better? And that was something that to this day I admire about him. It's something, exactly, it's priceless. And you know, you can't find that quality in everybody. You can't find that quality in every dad and every person. You know, so to have somebody in my life who did not bring me into this world, who had no obligation whatsoever to be that type of person for me or to me, as well as for my brother, for my mom, for us to essentially become a family and bring his own kids into, you know, our life as well, and you know, expand our family, you know, blend our families and help us grow. It's a tough situation. It was tough as a kid. It was tough as parents. I know my mom had headaches because I'd go back and forth with her about things. And, you know, he's not my dad. He can't tell me this, can't tell me so.
Exactly.
Being a stubborn teenager and doing.
That's probably really tough for everybody.
It was tough, but it's life. And again, hindsight, you get to kind of, you know, reflect on how you got to where you're at today and what kind of things did you have to go through, the good and the bad. And there was definitely good, there was definitely bad. And the biggest thing that sticks out to me is that he was there through all of it. He never wavered in his love. He never was wishy-washy about, you're my kid, you're not my kid.
Yeah, exactly. He was all in from the beginning.
Always all in. If I was in trouble and you know, getting in trouble at school, getting kicked out of school, whatever it is, he's right there with you. That's my son.
Yep.
You know, if I'm, you know, hitting walk-off home runs or scoring game-winning touchdowns, that's my son. Like there was no
good or bad.
He was always there. He was consistent, and to this day, it's the same thing. You know, good and bad, tough times in business, he's right there for me. You know,
even still to this day, he's an ear. He's a phone call away.
Always.
He's very present. What would you say are the biggest lessons that you've learned from him?
Biggest lessons I've learned from him.
What to do, what not to do.
Number one is always follow your dreams. Always do what you're passionate about. That'd be the biggest thing that I've learned from him. No matter what gets in your way, you keep moving, keep going forward.
If you believe in it,
If you believe in it, just wake up and keep your feet moving. You know, rest when you need to, but keep your feet moving in the direction that you foresee your life going in, and things that you want in life. Keep moving in that direction. Second biggest thing is family above all else. It's on me for a reason. He puts family first no matter what. Like I said, never wavered from the day that he came into our lives and knew that he wanted to be a part of it. Love's been consistent ever since. You know, even through the tough times of me pointing the finger and saying, "You're not dad."
Right.
You know, he always stood strong and wore like a champ, and now he gets called dad every day. So
now on the flip side, and you don't have to share if you don't want to, but what do you feel you've learned from your real dad? Whether it was from a verbal conversation or if it was just from his actions. What did you, if anything, what have you learned from him?
For my father, so I do have memories. I mean, early on in life and conversations up until I think the last time I went to visit him was my freshman year in high school. Spoke with him after that on the phone. We had mixed conversations, good ones, bad ones, frustrating ones. But I think the biggest thing, I mean, I take a lot of, at the end of the day, DNA doesn't lie. So I take a lot of his creativeness, his artisticness from him for sure. He's very artistic. You can get on social media now and see some of his paintings and drawings by hand of professional athletes or celebrities, things like that are just amazing.
Very creative mind.
Very, very creative mind. I definitely get his genetics when it comes to physique and building muscle and things like that. He was a bodybuilder himself. But I think the biggest thing that I take away from him would definitely be compassion. Try to be compassionate towards all situations in life. I think I get that maybe from him as well as from my grandfather, who I'm still in touch with. Those are my grandparents out in New York. He's been a pastor my entire life. And I think my dad, my father growing up in the church, that's kind of where that comes from. Be compassionate through all situations in life. People are, if they're willing to change, give them a chance to change. If they're willing to, be present, give them an opportunity to be, and at the end of the day, like, this is all the time that we got is right now. So you either do something with it or you don't do anything at all. So I definitely took being compassionate as far as day-to-day goes, I think, from him, and it's something that continues to develop in my own sense and own understanding as I grow and I go through my own life dealings and my own relationships with people. But I think there's not too much more as far as just lessons in life. There's a lot of things of what not to do or so.
Which are just as valuable,
Yeah.
if not more valuable,
Absolutely.
than the goods, right?
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of memories that I have of things occurring or words being said that I definitely don't ever want to emulate as a person, as a father, as a man, just overall. So, you gotta take the good with the bad in life.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And at the end of the day, just have hope.
Yeah, yeah.
So
to kind of take it a step back as we're going through your upbringing, how did you and I meet?
All right, so we met, I think it was junior year of high school. It was my junior year of high school, or towards the end, maybe senior year. We met though, you had just, I think, came back from San Diego. You were starting to open up TPF at the time. I was playing football at Tracy High with Coach Strout, Coach Mark Stroop, and those guys. And we had just came off a winning season, and you were the new strength and conditioning guy here in town that was, gung-ho on helping athletes and helping just the community get better, get, more educated on health and fitness, and just helping as much as you could. And you were coming out in the mornings, you were doing our strength conditioning stuff, you were doing our before school started. I remember those mornings.
Yeah, me too.
And those were fun. It was good times, but that's kind of where our relationship started. After that, I went away for college. I would train at TPF every now and then. Went away for college though. You had just opened up actually when I left for college. So yeah, I think we met my junior year, and then going into senior year. I got ready there for my walk-on at Cal State Los Angeles for baseball. That's where I trained. I was TPF, and then went to school. A few years later, you were in need of trainers at the time, and I had just moved back from school to take care of my grandmother, and it kind of all clicked from there. And called me in, shadowed for about a month, and the rest is history from there.
Yeah.
But it was a great opportunity. Definitely the jump starter for my career and helped lead to where I'm at today was a big part in you taking a chance and knowing my own work ethic, who I was as a person, as an athlete, just kind of having an idea but more so taking a chance. You know, that was the biggest thing that you could have did. And I mean, Jolene can tell you, I thank you all the time, just because, I mean, I knew what path I was going down. It was a matter of what opportunity was I going to choose to go with. At that time that I moved home, it was, I had one more season to play in college, and I was at a crossroad of, do I go play at Chabot Junior College and make a commute from Modesto to Chabot every day, or do I start working and help my grandma like I planned to and start my career path? And that was a chance, you know, that I took on life, and it wasn't always easy at first. You know, we went through our own ups and downs as far as business went, and you know, it was good times though, for sure. Ton of good times, ton of educating. That was the biggest thing I took from our relationship, and I still continue to instill that in my own practices as now being, you know, the boss as well here, and being a mentor to my own coaches and my own trainers, as well as the athletes that I work with, but just constantly educating them, helping them learn, you know, not only how to organize themselves in life, but how to organize themselves in just presentation, how they carry themselves, mannerism, you know, what it takes to continue to grow in a well-rounded aspect as far as being an athlete goes, being a coach, being just a person overall, yeah. And I mean, a huge thing that I took from our relationship as far as employee-employer goes was the constant conversations we had. We always had a lot of talks here and there, you know, and it wasn't, you know, bad talks or anything like that. It was just talking, you know, just like we're doing now.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest thing that I took away from, you know, mentorship and being able to guide somebody in the right direction was being able to constantly communicate, being able to have open relationship, open communication about what's needed, what's wanted, anything, you know, didn't matter what it was. So I think maybe just because we found ourselves always in the same building at the same time, who knows, but I think a big part of it too was just the common connection of wanting to constantly give to others and be helpful for others, and constantly learning from one another as well too, how to go about doing so. Because I think even at a young age, like, I mean, we met, this was 5 years ago maybe, I think that we're at TPF 6 years ago almost, and it was, I was young then, 21, so at that time, being able to sit down though and have a conversation, and you be receptive to the things that I was saying, and, you know, learn from him as well, you know, that's kind of where the old soul thing kind of helps me. Like, I reflect back on times like that and understand why so many older people or generations above me were so connected with me. You know, we went down to Ursa and met Todd Durkin, and I'll never forget, you know, him. I gave him one of the Never Not Working shirts, and, you know, he said, we talked very briefly, told him about H4S at the time. This was, again,
when it
6
was a
years,
vision.
5 years ago, and it was just a vision. And he said, you're going to be great. You know, he said, there's not many people that can articulate, you know, their vision like yourself, and there's not many people your age, let alone here. So he said, you're going to be great at what you do. You just got to keep going. And till this day, I still follow him, watch his podcast. I would watch his, you know, video post on Instagram, watch him on the show The Strong, you know, all those little things. And he's somebody I look up to for sure. I know somebody of one of your mentors, or, you know, people that you idolize and look up to. And at the time, I didn't know why. I knew who he was when we would speak about him, but I didn't really understand why. And, you know, for me, now looking up to him and kind of idolizing him as well, is, for me, I like Todd Durkin mainly because, I mean, he's almost, 50-something, mid-50s?
Probably mid-50s,
yeah. He's about mid-50s.
He's a ball of fire, though, man.
Exactly. And it's just like he lives life as if he's, you know, still 18 to 20 years
Big
old.
kid.
Like, he's a big kid. He's passionate about what he does, but he's constantly educating and teaching from his own experiences. He's constantly trying to help those around him. He's never secluding himself. He's never trying to do things that are, you know, outside of the reach of the common person, or, you know, anything like that. He doesn't put himself up on a pedestal like some of these other trainers or mentors or people, pro coaches that you see. Like, he knows who he is at the end of the day. He knows what he's done. Everyone, you know, respects him for what he's done and who he is. but he doesn't ever try to go outside of that and boast himself as anything more than just another person.
Right.
You know, another human being just trying to educate, trying to help, and
Just play his
trying
part,
to exactly
make his impact.
Make his impact. Make his impact is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And for us, I think that Ursa trip was a big impact for me, for sure. I mean, it brought our relationship closer as a staff. It brought us closer as, you know, I think just brothers in general. You know, just overall, it was a big growing trip, and that's something that I hope to do this upcoming year with my staff, is take them down to Ursa. I want to say it's in May this year.
It was actually next week.
Oh, is it?
But they canceled it due to this coronavirus.
Oh, wow.
They just canceled it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, because I looked it up at the start of the year, and I think there's one in SoCal, but I think there's one in Florida this year, or there was supposed to be.
Yeah,
Probably isn't now.
We'll see.
But yeah, that's something
You want to get out there.
I definitely want to get out there, and not only for myself to continue to learn, because I had a great time and stuff, but to help my young coaches who, you know, I feel are in the same position I was in, you know, when I first started working for yourself and got into my career. They're kind of in that same, you know,
window or transition.
Early transition in life as to what am I going to do in life? What am I going to pursue in life? And I got a couple that they're on the fence, and I got a couple that are building the fence. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of making sure that all of them are on the same page, on the same boat, you know, thinking the same way, and they're all buying into the same vision. But at the end of the day, they understand that this is just a platform for them. Like H4S is nothing more than a platform for you to continue to grow. I don't expect you to be here forever, your entire life, no differently than the things that you told me, you know, going into TPF. And that was a big deal for me, because I think you go to a lot of places, you go to InShape, or you try and work at some sort of corporate gym, or, you know, 24 hours, and you're supposed to be, you know, there for the rest of your life.
Just work up the ladder.
And that's it. You know, climb the ladder as much as you can, and we're always going to regulate your pay and how much you work.
Your ideas, and you're stuck in a box.
Yeah. Can't do it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, every person, every human being on this earth has a mind for a reason, has a creative aspect of their mind, whether it's something artistic or it's something physical, or whatever it may be. Everybody's creative in some regard. You just have to either
tap into it, right?
Exactly. Choose to tap into it, or choose to let it be. And I think the people that are entrepreneurs nowadays in life, a lot of them, I mean, I think a lot of them, for sure, early generation ones, or what do they call them, these millennial ones? I guess I'd be considered millennial too.
I think I'm a millennial too, but Z generation, Generation X.
I think the biggest thing that lacks with that is just more so the grind. Like they expect immediate result with not a lot of work put in, and I think that's where you kind of see a lot of people falling off nowadays, though. Like even quality trainers. Like I've had a few really good trainers that have come in, and they don't even train no more just because it wasn't immediate enough. The pay wasn't immediate enough. The clientele wasn't immediate enough.
They didn't want to put in the work.
Exactly, and it was just didn't happen.
Well, on to the next.
Exactly, on to the next thing. Now they're, you know, either mechanics, or they're working at the gas station, or doing something that they don't enjoy doing, but I guess it's the hours, you know, it's paying the bills, and that's it. And I remember myself being at that same crossroad when I first started working at TPF. It was like, all right, well, get paid.
Need money.
This much for an hour, and I only get paid when I work. So it's either I move my feet and get some clients, or I have my 1 hour every three. You know, I have 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
So, and that wasn't working. You know, it wasn't going to work coming from Modesto to Tracy every day and having, you know, that hour commute back and forth as far as just overall traffic. But I mean, it didn't make sense. So it came down to, you know, simple mindset of FitFo. You either figure it out.
That's it. So to go back to the roots and your upbringing, that's what you would say would really got you through that initial transition into the fitness industry. Is you just got to figure it out. If you want it bad enough, if you want the dream bad enough, and it means that much to you, you'll figure it out.
You have to.
So now I want to transition into, you know, right now, today. So what what would you say you're the most passionate about right now?
Right now, probably the most passionate about coaching for sure. Definitely coaching my little guys. That was something. I've always enjoyed working with younger kids, little kids. But coaching baseball, starting my 9U development program last year, was an absolute blast. I think it was something that definitely brought more quality life to me for my life. Like, it didn't matter if I was struggling or whatever it was. Like, as soon as I got on the field with these little guys who were 7 to 9 years old, it was a blast. Just because they're out there smiling, right? It didn't matter to them if they messed up or they did great. They're just having fun. As long as they're smiling, they were enjoying life. It made everything better for me in that moment. And it allowed me to just kind of relax and realize, like, hey, life's not that bad. Life's not as tough as it may seem, regardless of how hard the time may seem. So I think definitely now, seeing them grow as well. So now this spring we have 3 teams. Last spring we started with 2 teams. We had a 9U and a 12U. This spring we have a 10U, 11U, and a 13U team. So business is growing, program's growing. But to watch our 9-year-olds transition, we just played our first tournament this past weekend. And last season, we got whooped. We lost every single game we played. Got mercy ruled in every single game. This year, night and day better. We compete in games. We're playing well. We didn't win any games, but we didn't get mercy ruled in every single game. And kids are hitting, kids are pitching. They're doing the things that we've been working on developing over the last season into this season. And for me to be able to step back and to see the overall big picture of what my vision is for future stars and my development program, which is a part of H4S, it's working. I see the development happening. I see every kid in the program getting better like they should. Like I said, we're at 3 teams now, so obviously other kids are being attracted to it, other parents are being attracted to it. But my passion for sure right now is just coaching and working with this younger generation of athletes that specifically play baseball or even flag football right now. Our little guy plays flag football, and I'm all into it. Football is my thing. I love football. That's always been my passion. Kind of went baseball route just because of injury, but I love baseball. I love just coaching in general. But right now, on this given day, today, Thursday, at 5 o'clock, we'll have practice, and I'll be having a blast for sure.
Best part of the day right there.
It is for sure.
So basically the experience coaching these younger kids, that whole process, the goods, the bads, just everything involved is just really what's kind of just pulling on the heartstrings for you right now, right?
For sure.
I want to kind of shift gears, and I want to quickly talk about health or Hungry for Success Athletics. So I was going to say health before fitness. Hungry for Success Athletics is your business. If you were to explain to somebody what it is, what you do here, how would you explain that?
Here at H4S Athletics, we specialize in youth performance training. We also specialize in adult nutrition and programming for a healthier version of yourself. Our big focus is on our youth and developing them. As far as movement pattern goes, we work with ages 4 all the way to the collegiate and professional levels in athletics.
Of all sports, not just baseball.
All sports. Baseball, softball, soccer, football, basketball, tennis, you name it. Because we don't always put a ball or a racket or a physical object in the athlete's hand. We more so just teach them on body awareness, how to control themselves, how to maximize their own force output, how to utilize every pound for pound strength that they have in their body. As well as teach them how to be pound for pound strong. We don't train in your traditional bodybuilding style. We train in multiple different ways. We make sure the body's conditioned. We make sure the body's strong. We make sure the body's healthy. We educate on health. We educate on proper nutrition, on timing of meals throughout the day with our athletes. With our college prep program, which is our high school group, it's ages 14 and up. We specialize more on preparing them for life, as well, balancing out that schedule transition from being an everyday high school kid where mom and dad take care of you to now you're in college, within a year, within a few months of graduating high school, essentially. Now you got to go to practice, you got to go to classes, you got to be, in study hall, and then you got to be on the field again. Or
so you kind of prepare them for that transition.
You prepare them for that transition, not only in the weight room, but more so as well as our mental approach to it. With our first 10 minutes of that class, it's a 90-minute class. The first 10 minutes is a mental lock-in. And we'll ask either a series of questions, kind of like we're doing here now, or we'll convey a message of some sort from our own personal experiences as coaches. Myself and my fellow coach Mike Freimeyer will either bounce ideas off each other, one coming up with these questions.
A certain topic of the day, or something to
exactly.
focus on, or
something to focus on, but it's to get the athlete to kind of tap in or kind of think differently than they usually do on an everyday basis, or to not think about just the easily common surface things. Like, okay, well, you want to be a Division I athlete. Where do you want to go to school? What do you want to study? How do you plan to get there? And trying to help them build up to
build those steps.
Exactly, build up the steps to preparing for
actually
college.
Getting there.
Exactly, getting there, as well as being prepared once you do get there. Because I think a lot of kids nowadays, I mean, even in the past as well, is we get there, but then we're not prepared. Or we did everything we needed to get to where we wanted to be for that door to open, but now the door is open. Now what?
Yep.
So.
And then you lose the opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With our level 2 program, it's our intermediate phase. Kids can test up from our level 1, which is ages 7 to 10 years old. Our intermediate phase is ages 11 and up. That is all just sports performance, body awareness, training.
Speed training,
Speed,
you do a lot of
agility,
acceleration, change of direction.
Yep. We specialize in all that. The main focus with that as well is mental toughness and body awareness. Mentally being able to connect the mind to muscle, right? I think I feel like that was the biggest thing I learned from yourself, as well as learned as an athlete, is the sooner that you can connect your mind to the muscles that you're using, the more you're going to be the more efficient you're going to be with your performance. And so we really try and we hone in on balance. Balance is a big key. Flexibility is a big deal. So that way athletes understand how to breathe. And then our movement patterns, we stay pretty consistent with our warm-ups. That way they're repetitive movement patterns that will carry them on throughout any class they come through throughout the week, or as they level up through the program as well. They're able to see themselves progress in those movement patterns and see how much more explosive they become, how much more efficient their body movement becomes. But with our intermediate phase, the real main focus on that, like I said, is mental toughness, body awareness, as well as trying to introduce proper nutrition to them, because that's kind of that, like 5th grade to early middle school stage where
snacks, pizza pockets,
exactly.
Yeah,
kids are coming home and eating everything that's frozen.
Yep.
So trying to teach them, what's a better choice, or do you have lunch meat and some bread at home? Can we make a sandwich instead of eating the frozen bagel bites?
Right.
Or how do we make the better choice to really be the athlete you want to be? I had a kid come in probably about 2 months ago, and he said I want to play football for Alabama. I said, all right, you play for Nick Saban? I said, how old are you? He said, I'm in 7th grade. I said, oh, okay. And he goes, I want to get a scholarship by freshman year. I said, oh, really? And it was funny because kid's probably maybe 98 pounds. Alabama's maybe a long shot, but the kid definitely has a skill set. He's definitely a special athlete.
Yeah.
Will he get a scholarship by freshman year? Probably not.
Right.
But the conversations that led after that was, what are you doing right now to make sure that you're one day closer to that goal of being a scholarship your freshman year? He said, in his exact answer, I'm here. And I think that's the biggest thing that we try to instill across our entire program, from our 4-year-olds all the way through our professional, all the way into our professional athletes, is that you got to show up to put the work in. If you don't show up, you already lost half the battle. You lost one day of opportunity to get to where you want to get to. And I mean, it's in the name itself. H4S stands for hungry for success. If you're not hungry, if you're not willing to get up and eat, you can't ever feel yourself. You don't want it. You're not going to see the things happen in life that you want to see happen. And with our programs, we're going to guarantee that your athlete will for sure become mentally tougher, mentally more confident in who they are on and off the field as a person as well as an athlete. And they'll absolutely become more physically fit and healthier leaving our program, coming in and leaving our program, just because we're going to give them the guidance that they need. We're not going to just tell them this is how you do it or this is what you do.
We're going to
educate them. We're going to answer the questions that they have. We're going to answer mom and dad's emails that get sent, following up on, hey, Jimmy came home and wants to know, what do I eat after basketball practice? We're going to follow up and send back a response, as well as talk to Jimmy the next time we see him in class to make sure mom's telling Jimmy the same thing coach told him, so Jimmy doesn't think mom's just trying to tell me what to do again.
Right.
Because that's kind of that in-between balance of kids want to listen to coaches before they want to listen to mom and dad sometimes, or they get to that teenage stage where they get hard-headed,
they know everything,
ears get closed off, and they know everything.
Yeah.
So for us to be a voice to these kids and to help them learn and educate and continue to grow in life is definitely a blessing and an opportunity that we don't take lightly. We take it very seriously and make sure that we're doing our best to be the best role models that we can be for every athlete and every person that walks in through the doors.
So it's a youth, intermediate, high school, collegiate, professional, sports-specific kind of a training program where you're really instilling a lot of the fundamentals, but you lead with education. You explain the what, why, where, when, and how to everything. You're not talking at them. You're creating a community of individuals that individually want to get better, but then you're also kind of instilling the basic fundamental components of what it takes to be a great teammate, a great person, to build that self-confidence and that self-esteem, so that even if they don't say go to that next level in sports, at least they've become a better human and a better person.
Exactly.
So then they can share the knowledge that you're sharing with them with other people, and maybe ultimately getting to where you are and running their own business, where then they're kind of moving that ripple effect on to their future generations and spreading the good word. So it's not just about the athletics, it's not just about the success, but then you even have success is not for the lazy, right? So where did that come from?
That came in college. That was something me and my buddies, mainly my roommates, we were all athletes. We played soccer, baseball, and tennis, and we're always trying to outwork one another. We're always just constantly trying to who was in the weight room first this morning, who was in the weight room last today, who how many times in the day did you train exactly?
Yeah.
It was who's going to get there first, and that was the biggest thing though. And we every now and then you find yourself, your buddies hungover in college, hanging out on the couch.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're being lazy, man. You ain't gonna get it. You ain't gonna get it.
Yeah.
As we're headed out to the gym or whatever, and there was times where I was the one on the couch, or I was the one, giving crap as I'm walking out the door.
Yeah.
And but that's kind of where that stemmed from, was you can't be successful if you're lazy. If you choose to stay on the couch all day long, you're not going to get there.
You gotta show up.
And
just
that's
like
what
we're
it was.
saying.
And that's all it comes down to, is if you don't show up, then either you choose to shut up, or you make the choice to eventually show up and be there and be present and do the things that need to get done for yourself. It's not to prove anything to anybody else, but it's mainly just to prove it to yourself. If you want to be successful, you want to be these athletes you see on TV, or you want to be, that live in the house that you see up on the hills, you got to get off your butt and put in the work. If you don't put in the work, or if you don't at least just get off your butt, you're not going to get anywhere.
Then you give yourself a chance.
Exactly.
Right. What gave you the confidence to jump into entrepreneurship? So before you answer that, I know you mentioned your dad is an artist, your real father. Artist, creative mind, probably an outside the box thinker, but then your stepfather came in, and it sounds like he has that entrepreneurial just DNA as well, to where he's building businesses and he's an outside the box thinker as well. Do you think that came from your upbringing? Do you think that was something just in your DNA? Was it always something that you wanted to do? Because being an entrepreneur is just cool nowadays.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to run their own business.
Right?
It's not for everybody.
It's not.
Not everybody is meant to be the number one guy or girl. Sometimes they're better off as the number 2 or the number 3. So what would you say for yourself? What made you want to take that jump into entrepreneurship? Was it something that you just knew within that you had? Or do you feel like you just wanted the challenge to see, can I do it? Or, you know, because there's a lot of people that want to do it that haven't done it yet, and they're not sure if they should make that jump.
Yeah.
But you did, and you're successful, and you've been doing it successfully now for years, and obviously the program's growing, and so something's going right. So what would you say gave you that confidence to take that jump into entrepreneurship?
As far as being an entrepreneur, I don't know, I think it might be in my DNA, like you said. I went to Cooperstown 2 summers ago and got to see my grandparents in New York, and I was having lunch with my grandpa, and we were talking about the business and stuff and how it's going good and things like that and how it's grown, and I was showing him pictures, and he made a comment afterwards saying, I always knew you were going to be an entrepreneur when I asked you and your brother to move a pile of rocks one afternoon for me, and you asked me how much I was going to pay you. And so I don't know, maybe I've always had a hustler mindset or DNA in me, and I know growing up, my grandma always told me don't do anything for free. You know, and it came back to bite her in the butt often because she tried to have me do chores on Sunday, and how much you pay me for the chores.
Yeah. Damn, grandma.
But so I think as far as just being an entrepreneur and just having a go-get-it mindset has definitely always been in my DNA, or just instilled in me just throughout my own family, and kind of my mom's family is Puerto Rican, my dad's family is African American. Both grew up at a time where they had to get after it. You know, they
didn't have much.
Yeah, didn't have much. Had to move their feet to get to where they wanted to be at in life. And coming from Puerto Rico to the United States was not easy for my mom's side of the family early on, but eventually took off there. You know, everything's been great since. But for me becoming an entrepreneur, I think the biggest influence, like I said before, was my dad, my stepfather, him being a business owner when him and my mom met, and then seeing him though give up a company, his company essentially, that was making 6 figures a year, no problem, you know, on a bad year making 6 figures, just step away from that, walk away from that, sell that, to do something he was passionate about, something that sparked the fire in him, that fueled him to, you know, want to live life and be excited about life every day. And I think that's kind of what gave me more so the confidence and motivation to understand that you can step away from something, no matter how good it is, and create something better for yourself. You know, as long as you kind of have a foundation or have an idea of it. And the leap for me, I mean, it kind of a little bit forced, a little bit unforced, but you know, going through our own, you know, going back to our relationship, you know, worked at TPF for a couple years, and then we were bought out by ETA, Elite Training Academy. After being bought out by them, you left not too long after yourself. Dad left as well, which was kind of my roots to even being there in the first place. So not to say that I immediately chose to follow you guys, but stuck it out, constantly went through, you know, business meeting after business meeting. But I personally felt like I wasn't being heard at the table, you know, with my ideas, my vision as far as how to help this other business grow into something that they're saying they want to grow into. I thought I had some great creative ideas, but they just weren't being heard, you know, and for me, confidence has never really lacked in me. As far as, you know, I mean, I always just referring back to being an athlete, but because I didn't feel heard, I just, I kind of, at that point, was just fed up. There was nothing, like I said, my roots weren't there anymore, so there was nothing really holding me down. Nothing holding me to keep me there, to say, hey, keep doing it, keep doing it.
And you're not being heard or valued, so you feel...
Yeah, I was last man standing as far as, the
originals.
The originals that were there, and it was just me. And either I could take my ideas and venture out and try to apply them myself and see what came of them, or I could sit back and keep my mouth shut and constantly just keep going through the same revolving door over and over. So for me, I gave him my 2-week notice. I gave it to him actually like a month in advance. Told him, so I worked for like a month, and then told him what 2 weeks I would be my last 2 weeks of work. Even trained the person coming in after me, just because that's the kind of person I am. If something's going to be left standing that I was a part of, and I know young athletes are going to be going in, or even just people that I see, in my neighborhoods are going to be going in there to train and to work out, I want the person that they're going to be educated as well, or to at least have an understanding of how to go about treating the people, in the area. So I did my part, did my due diligence as far as trying to help, even on my way out of it. But I was, at first, I'd be lying to say that I wasn't a little nervous. I was definitely confident that things would work out. I was more so nervous on the timing of things, how fast or how slow would things work out. I was fortunate to get the opportunity to take this building over, this location, from Sam Crivello. He is Pastor Sam, known here in town. He is brother of Tony Crivello, who I work with for NorCal Baseball. He's the president of NorCal Baseball. Again, baseball, small world, connects us all. But I was fortunate to get this building, get the opportunity to come in here at least to use some of the space when it wasn't being utilized. Quickly knew that this was something that I could do. I was going to be able to make it happen, at least on a regular, consistent basis. So I approached Sam with an offer to take over the space full time, and it went good. It was, at the end of the day, the biggest thing I was taught in life was closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you don't speak up about what you want, or you don't ask for something, the answer is always going to be no anyways, because you didn't ask. Right? So approached him with the offer, went good. He accepted the offer. 3.5, 4 years later, we now have the same training space size of 3,200 square feet that we started with, as well as another 3,200 square feet of training space next door. So total 6,400 square feet to get after it. We got batting cages. We have about 3,000 square feet of turf space to run around on and do fun stuff. So God's definitely been good, definitely been fortunate in a lot of aspects of life. But like I said, I was definitely nervous, just more so the time frame of things.
Nervous of the unknown? Nervous of failing?
Nervous of, I think it was nervous of the unknown, because my first initial instinct was when I walked in this place, I stood over by the roll-up door and said, it's too small. I was like, but in all reality, we literally just came from growing one of the fastest growing performance speed programs in Northern California on a 10 by 10 turf. Crazy. So in all reality, it was absolutely big enough. It was big enough. Was it as big as I envisioned when I envisioned H4S, long term down the road? No, but it's a stepping stone. It's a starting point. It's a starting point, no doubt. And it definitely was a great starting point. It allowed us to expand into next door, which is now even bigger. Like I said, we started 3,200 square feet. We now doubled in size. God willing, within a year and a half, when this lease is up, we're moving into another building that's a little bit bigger, if not doubling in size again. So entrepreneurship is definitely scary, because there's days when you don't know if you're gonna eat, you don't know if you're gonna be able to pay the bills, doors are gonna stay open, is business gonna be up, is it gonna be down? You can put in a routine, you can set, certain habits in place to have, constantly have a certain bare minimum or bottom line, so to speak. But with what we do as far as athletics go, I mean, it fluctuates throughout the year. If it's not baseball season and other sports, people aren't really too aware of what we're doing, or they're not really too into getting outside additional training.
Outside of the sport itself.
Outside of the sport itself, or they're not educated on why they should get additional training outside of the actual sport, then you can, kind of see things start to decline, or highs and lows. So it's definitely a fun roller coaster, throughout it, no doubt, but it definitely can be mentally tough. It can be mentally challenging. There's definitely been days and weeks when I've broken down and just sat here and
welcome to the club,
golly,
that's part
of
it.
I decided to get into, but it's a blast, and again, something I would never change. It's other than for positive growth, it's nothing that's going to change. And we're projected to continue to grow throughout the rest of this year. Projected to at least move into a bigger space within the next year and a half.
Exciting.
So business is good. But I mean, if I could give any advice as far as being an entrepreneur goes, I think the biggest thing I would say was just do it. You have no time other than the present. I think this whole thing with Kobe Bryant recently if that doesn't kind of make that seem real in your head when people tell you that, life is short.
It can be taken at any moment.
It can go at any moment. I mean, the only opportunity you really have in life is today, right now, the moments that you get right now. The people listening to this podcast or watching this video on YouTube, all you have is this time right now. What you choose to do after you listen to this or hear this message is entirely up to you. But my honest to God advice would just be get up and go do it.
Right. So for an entrepreneur or someone thinking about getting into entrepreneurship, one, you have to make sure that what you want to go into is really pulling on the heartstrings, right? I mean, it has to be something that you thoroughly love to do. You have to have some sort of fundamental skill set. I mean, you have to at least have some sort of skill, right? Because you could obviously learn and develop over time, but you have to have somewhat of a foundation.
I agree.
But then also, you have to be willing to put in the work.
You have to.
I mean, you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to take the risks. You have to be willing to make the jump. And if people that are listening right now say, that just sounds like too much work, then entrepreneurship isn't for them.
I agree.
Right? What would you say to the personal trainers, the sports performance coaches, the boot camp instructors out there right now? What would you say are the top 3 skills a trainer needs in order to be successful? We have a lot of education. We all have a lot of desire and a lot of passion behind what we do, but some trainers are very successful at what they do. They produce results, they retain clients, they end up turning an individual business into a business, and then some trainers just struggle. They just don't have what it takes, right? What would you say to the trainers? What do you think are the top 3 skills that you need to possess in order to really make it as a trainer?
Top 3, I think for me, the 3 that I instill in my coaches are, number 1, that was instilled in me by one of our fellow mentors, Jon is customer centrics. You gotta put yourself in the customer's shoes. How do you want to be treated as the customer, not just put yourself in the position of servicing the customer. Because you may show up and service a customer, but you may not give your best quality service. But if you put yourself in a position where you're standing in the customer's shoes and you treat the customer as if you were the customer and how you'd want to be treated, now you're showing up, you're going to give your A game every time. You're going to bring your MVP effort. So I would say for sure, number 1, customer centrics. Put yourself in the consumer's shoes. Don't put yourself in your own shoes in that moment, just because you're not there to service yourself. You're there to service somebody else. Second thing, as far as being a great trainer and seeing yourself evolve, I think would be not only just constantly self-educating yourself, but constantly practicing what you're preaching to your athletes, to your clients. Practice your own programs that you're putting out there, at least movements, if not the entire workout. any new health thing that you're trying to put onto somebody else, make sure you're fully educated on it, or at least have experience in it with your own body, just because you can't, I mean, even with my own nutrition credentials, like, I'm not going to tell somebody to do something that I'm not entirely familiar with, either firsthand or entirely familiar with from a study standpoint or from a research standpoint. Like, I would much rather them go to their own physician and them tell them whether they should or shouldn't do something, versus me being that person to say do this or that. Instead, exactly, fake it, and then now they come back and they got something wrong with them.
Yep.
So biggest thing
Practice
is
what you preach.
Absolutely, practice what you preach.
Love it.
And then third thing is be passionate about what you do. If when you're in front of a client, you're teaching them, or you're asking them to perform a movement of some sort that's going to benefit them. Help them understand why it's benefiting them. Teach them so they understand why they're doing what they're doing. Don't just tell them, all right, we're going to do 4 sets of 10 on incline dumbbell press, and you're not explaining as to why we're doing it with this movement as well, or that movement. You're just telling them to go, do this, do that. And they come in, they get a good workout, that's cool. If a client just wants to show up for a workout, which a lot of clients, there's some that are like that. But you also see that the more you educate them, the more you make them aware, they value you a little bit more also, I feel like, just because now you're teaching them to understand how to move when you're not present, when they're outside in the real world, every day of life, outside of that 1 hour they're with you. You got to understand how to properly get down and move, pick up the box off the floor that they got to move, just like they would in a deadlift movement or anything like that.
Right. Teach
them how to properly move their body, why they're moving it, and just be passionate about teaching what it is that you're putting on somebody else. So customer centrics, practice what you preach, and be passionate in teaching what it is that you're doing.
I love it. I love that. Care to share any secrets, tips, or lessons that you've learned over the years of running your own business? So what are some things that you've learned over the last couple years in regards to running a business that maybe you didn't know beforehand? People that are already maybe running their own business, that are interested in running their own business, what kind of insights or tips could you give them that you've learned over the last few years, if any?
Biggest one, honestly, would be have a business plan as to where you want to see your business go, within a year, 3 years, 5 years, and so on, depending on, how far out you can foresee your business growing or expanding, as well as keep track of income, outcome, or intake, outtake, so you constantly know where numbers are, for yourself, know where money's being spent, know what money's coming in. It just makes things so much easier. Like I said, it makes your time move a little bit more efficiently. It makes the dream become more real a lot more efficiently. When you can kind of see, okay, I can spend money here on this month on this part of the dream, and maybe in a couple months you can spend money on this part of it.
Everything kind of has a purpose.
Exactly, it all has a purpose, and then you eventually see the whole picture kind of illuminate or all come together, versus you get fixated on one aspect of it. You're just trying to paint this one part of the picture over and over and over, and you find yourself dumping all this money into one part of the picture, and then now the rest of the picture never gets painted or never comes to light, because everything got dumped into this one aspect of the business. So you because you didn't have a business plan, you didn't oversee the rest of the big picture. You didn't see yourself grow into the next space that you wanted, or you didn't see yourself grow into the merchandise that you wanted to offer to clients or athletes. You didn't see yourself grow with coaches or trainers underneath you. You didn't see yourself grow in consumer side. You didn't see client base grow, simply because you got narrow-minded and fixated on one part of the business, because you never really knew what the whole business looked like. So I know for myself, like, H4S has been something that's been on my head brewing for a long time. I got countless numbers of journals of just different ideas,
brain dumps, right?
All kinds of stuff, and sketchbooks of different layouts of facilities and things like that. And I think the biggest thing, like I found myself kind of not stagnant, but more so feeling like I was constantly going to the same revolving door the first like year and a half, 2 years of
Just the
being
daily
open.
hustle.
Yeah, because I was just caught up in the daily hustle of go, go, go. Like I said, I since a young age, I know how to, make $1 out of nothing. So it's just a matter of having a foundation, though, having a system in place to help you keep track of that hustle, to keep track of your time, because time as an entrepreneur is very, very valuable. If you don't maximize your time, you're going to find your business slowly declining or quickly declining, simply because your time is being spread thin amongst distractions, like we said, and just having a plan, and kind of reflecting either quarterly throughout the year,
right,
at the end of each month.
Check yourself, you on track.
That's it. Check yourself and be real with yourself, though. You gotta be completely honest with yourself, because if you're not honest with yourself, you're gonna sugarcoat it. You're gonna, lie to yourself, tell yourself that it's this when it's not really that, and you're gonna, at the end of the day, you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot, or you're gonna find yourself doing things twice over because you didn't do it right the first time. I think a big thing for me that's actually helped in the last year with my to-do list is putting dates next to my tasks. Like when I put the tasks,
deadlines,
not so much deadlines, but more so when did I write it down? Because this list gets a mile long, and we got a mile long to-do list, and we're always thinking about that first to-do that we wrote maybe 5 months ago. And we're constantly thinking about it in the back of our head, but
it's not getting done.
It's not getting done. And in all reality, the ones that are more recent are probably more important, and we're still thinking about the ones 5 months ago. So I started writing down the dates as well on my to-do list, and I would cross off ones that either have already gotten done or ones that I know I'm just not going to get to. Because if I constantly let them linger in the back of my mind and let them be a to-do, I'm never going to get to the present day of today or the things that need to get done today or this week, because I'm thinking about what I didn't get done 5 months ago. So if it's not going to get done, let it be.
One thing I know that you take a lot of pride in is your faith, right? You've had a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of struggles, a lot of successes, but somehow, some way throughout all of it, you've been able to keep an optimistic mindset. You've always been able to stay, at least from the outside, right? I'm sure you've had some breakdowns of your own throughout your time, but you always seem to project this positive, faithful, just energy, right? Where do you think that comes from? Because a lot of people struggle, man, and a lot of people break during the struggle, and their true colors really come out. They react, they let the emotions to get to them, and then they end up taking it out on other people, and then they have regrets. But you've always seemed to be very cool, very calm, very collected, the old soul type. And even though you've been struggling, you've always had this kind of rich energy about you. So, and that's one of the things that really drew me to you, even when you were in high school, is I always felt this humble yet hungry mentality. And you still seem to have that today. So where did that come from?
I think that 110% comes from my mom. Her being a single mother for pretty much our whole life. Even once my dad was around, my stepfather was around, like it was still just mom though for a long time. Before we all lived together and things like that. But it definitely comes from her. Like she never stopped moving her feet. She always found a way to make sure me and my brother had a roof over our head, had food on the table. She never made excuses as to, why anything didn't get paid for or anything like that. Like she always just made it happen. We never went without the things that we needed. We didn't always have what we wanted,
sure,
but we never went without the things that we needed. The essentials in life, they were always there. Love was always there. And I think the biggest thing is for me was her always reminding me that this too shall pass. And the Bible references that time and time again, that this too shall pass. And regardless of how dark times can get, how great times can be, this too will pass. You know, some are life-taking moments, some are, you know, positive, changing moments. The sooner we realize in life that we control the outcome of the moment, we control how we perceive the moment, we control how we respond and react to the moment, I think is the biggest thing for me and the biggest self-educating thing that I've learned over time, because early on in life I was very hot-headed, very short-tempered, very quick to just fight first, ask questions later, getting in trouble a lot. You know, maybe it was from the upbringing, maybe it was from
the lack of the father figure, maybe, or
you know, just lack of certain guidance skills or things like that.
Maybe some inner anger even, or
you know, little things, just being upset over just life. You know, feeling. I remember myself feeling like life was unfair a lot when I was little. Things were unfair. Father wasn't around. You know, little things. So didn't get. You know, the other kids had things that I wanted. Like I said, didn't always have what I wanted, but I had what I needed. At the time in life, didn't always realize that. But hindsight, looking back, being able to reflect on early childhood and upbringing in life, I did for sure find myself, I guess maybe resentful is the best word to put it, is resentful to not having everything that everyone else around me had.
What you thought maybe you should have had.
Exactly. Maybe what I thought was the normal, you know, didn't have both mom and dad together, didn't have, just live in one house, live with grandma a lot growing up, you know, little things, you know, and it didn't always feel like the normal, you know. So because it wasn't normal, I had frustrations inside, you know. At any time I felt picked on or bullied or whatever, it was just quick, all right, let's go, let's throw them.
But as you got older, something about your mom and just that faithful foundation,
and her just constantly, because she too, I mean, I know I talked about my dad being my number one fan and, you know, biggest supporter, but mom's been there through everything. She is the foundation.
So that just goes to show, I mean, your wisdom at such a young age, and understanding that, you know, you're able to put it in perspective, and you take the good with the bad. And having grown up with the mentality of that too shall pass, I think it's really helped you just look forward, move forward, regardless of the obstacles and struggles that have come your way. So it just goes to explain why you have been the person that you've been throughout the highs and the lows. You stay pretty, you know, level-headed, whether you're doing really well or you're struggling. And so I think that's something to be acknowledged. So, you know, I acknowledge that.
Thank you.
All right, Johnny, so what's next for you? So what can people expect from Jon Combs and H4S? What can people expect from you this year? What are you working on, and what do you hope to accomplish in the next, you know, in this year, 2020?
In this year, so we just became a 501c3 youth sports organization, nonprofit. So that's huge for us. It allows us now to fundraise money, get money from the state and grants and things like that. Our future outlook is to be able to provide scholarships for athletes, as well as help them attain their own scholarships, you know, through their athletics and academics. But to be able to put any of our athletes that come in here and they train with us and they go through, you know, the program, whether they're in high school, they start off in high school, or they start at a young age and go all the way through high school, at least provide them with some financial assistance to go to college or to continue their education after they're done with high school. So that, being a 501c3 nonprofit organization, allows us to do that when it comes to, you know, being able to create a fund more so for it, versus it just being something that's come out of business. Now business has to, you know, account for it and do all that legal side of it, whatever, with the taxes and stuff. But it just makes, like, everything that I want to do as far as giving back, it allows me to do, because now I don't have to worry about, is it too much, or, you know, am I making enough to balancing it out within the actual business?
Right, to where it's even sustainable.
Exactly. So now we can create a fund, our H4S Athlete Fund, which is going to, it'll be, like I said, 4 scholarships that, God willing, we were able to give one out this year to athletes that we have in this graduating class. But I mean, we're not saying we're gonna put a kid through college or anything like that, but it's
You're working towards it.
That's what we're working towards. End goal is to be able to, be able to fund a kid and send them through college, at least through an entire year of college, maybe.
Wow.
But right now, our goal is to just simply be able to give them a check, whether it's $500, $1,000, whatever.
Towards books or room and board.
Whatever it is. And you receive this scholarship simply because you showed over the course of your time in high school that you're hungry. You came in, you got after it in your workouts. You constantly upheld your academics. You're
showed up,
trying to pursue a higher education. You're trying to be somebody in life, and they don't necessarily have to be going to school to be an athlete as well. They can just go to school to continue their education, to go into medical field, or to be a fireman, or to do whatever they choose to do beyond high school. As long as they're going to college though, or continuing to further their education, they essentially they're a candidate, or can qualify as being a recipient of the scholarship. So that's a big deal for us.
That's awesome.
That's something that was huge this year. We just became the nonprofit at the start of this year. With the expansion of our development program, we're looking to add basketball and soccer this year. So hopefully by fall, we'll have a couple development basketball and soccer teams, in addition to our Future Stars baseball teams. So that's the outlook right now for this year. We'll continue to impact the community in a positive way. We work day in, day out to make sure that we provide a service that is second to none when it comes to customer centrics, to making sure that our customers are taken care of, our clients are taken care of. They feel like family when they come in. They don't ever feel like they're just another paying customer coming through the door. They understand that we care about them. They know that we're here for them. We were voted best of the best in Tracy this year.
Right.
As
huge.
She was voted best personal trainer in Tracy, and we were voted #1 youth sports organization in Tracy. So
that's huge, man.
Big deal for sure. It was awesome, but it's just a stepping stone. It's a foundation. That's kind of like the base layer of the cake for us. We want to keep building on that. We want to continue to receive those accolades in the future because of the things that we continue to do, because of the quality of service that we continue to provide to the community, as well as the different new outreaches that we have in store to bring the community closer together. It's going to be a fun year though, for sure. We definitely have some things up our sleeve that don't want to talk about too much. But
okay. Next time we get on the podcast,
we'll talk about how impactful it was. Definitely gonna be a fun year for sure.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
So where could people find you? I know you're on Instagram.
Yep.
What's your handle on Instagram?
Instagram is at Coach Jon, JON_H4S. That's my coaching and personal Instagram. You can find the facility Instagram at H4S_athletics. And then we have our website. You can check us up on www.h4sathletics.com. Our Twitter is the same as our H4S Instagram, which is H4S_athletics. No YouTube channels yet, but those are in the works, all that good stuff. So I'm kind of behind the curve when it comes to technology. Know how to use it.
There's a lot to it, man. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
But yeah, definitely look us up.
Email, maybe, if anybody has questions.
You can reach out if you have email. If you'd like to email us for any services, whether it be online nutrition, personal training. We also do provide team training, so we'll go out and service any schools in the local area. On-site, yeah. So we'll travel to the school or travel out to any youth sport practice, whether any age from 7 and up. But you can reach us at h4s.athletics@gmail.com, or you can reach myself personally at h4s.futurestars@gmail.com as well. Anyone interested in development, sports development, I would say we're the #1 place to go when it comes
Seems to be, right?
When it comes to developing young youth into great people as well as great athletes, I would definitely say we're the place to go. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. It's kind of kind of tough to beat when it comes down to it. So if you're interested and you're looking for, a career path of some sort in athletics, or you have a background in any of the sports, that can, pertain to a ball or a racket of some sort, then come on through, come check us out. And,
Awesome, I love it, John. Okay, last question, two-part question.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with failure, and why do you think most people fail when it comes to their health and fitness?
My relationship with failure, like I said, I'm human. I've failed at a lot in life, so to speak, right? I think you only fail when you give up. So I think if you stop trying, you definitely fail. If you stop moving your feet, you fail. But as long as you constantly learn something and you try to improve yourself, you can't really say you failed. You just, I don't know, you made an error.
Lesson learned, right?
Lesson learned.
You learn, yeah.
So in baseball, we teach you gotta have a short-term memory. The game of baseball, you can be successful 3 out of 10 times and be considered a Hall of Famer, be considered a great baseball player. So you can fail, so to speak, or make an error 7 times out of 10. In life, you failed 1 time and people constantly, they'll call you a failure. You fail 1 time personally, you call yourself a failure. Or, if you have a mindset like myself, or like most other baseball players or athletes do, you understand setbacks occur, minor things or even major things that are gonna come up that prolong your success or prolong you getting to where you want to get to. It just comes down to, are you willing to overcome that time that's been prolonged, or are you just gonna throw in the towel? For me, failure occurred. First phase of failure occurred when I was in high school, my freshman year. I was cut from my freshman baseball team. I tried out for the freshman baseball team. I was new to Tracy at that time. Cut from the freshman baseball team, and they kept 24 kids on the roster on a high school baseball team as a freshman. So I was apparently not good enough to make one of the first 24. I knew I was good enough. I knew I was a good baseball player. I mean, I had played travel ball at a young age. I played 2 levels up, played 16U travel ball at the age of 14. At 14 was playing 18U every now and then, occasionally out in the Bay Area. So I knew I could play the game. I think at the same time though, I wasn't aware of a certain thing known as the phrase politics in sports. So I became very, very quickly educated on politics when that occurred. And it was unfortunate, but I was fortunate enough to have a coach, or to be put in front of a coach who did not believe in politics, who did not believe in somebody not making a team or getting an opportunity simply because they did not know somebody. They simply believed in that you either can play or you can't play. And so I was fortunate, after being cut from my freshman team, I actually made the JV team, the junior varsity team, which is a level up sophomore team. And Coach Kenny Perez gave me the opportunity to continue playing baseball. I was ready to hang up the cleats, though. I was getting ready for track season, and as a freshman, getting ready to go run, because baseball is the same time as track, and I knew I could run. So I played football, baseball, basketball growing up, and when baseball kind of, for a moment, again, was taken out of the picture for me. It was kind of like a week-long moment. Didn't go to school. I felt sick to my stomach. Didn't go to school for like 2 days. And finally, Coach Kenny Perez called me. And first thing he said was, "Why aren't you at school?" Second thing he said was, "Do you want to play baseball?" And I said, "Yeah," but I got cut, had a conversation. He said, "I don't care." He said, "Come out and play." He said, "Those guys don't know what they're talking about. Come out, come play with us." And he gave me an opportunity to just show up and prove myself, and that was a life-changing opportunity for sure, because I went on from there to play varsity baseball as a sophomore in Las Vegas when my family moved there. Came back, played varsity baseball, went on to play college baseball as well, and then now continue to coach baseball as well as coach at the collegiate level. So that moment of failure, so to speak, or feeling like I failed myself because I didn't make the next step, right? Growing up through baseball, you make the majors, you make the all-star team, you make your junior team on a bigger field, and the next goal is to make the high school team, right? I didn't make high school team. So I felt failure, no doubt. And I knew in that moment I never wanted to feel like that again. So I worked, busted my butt, made sure that didn't happen to me again. And it was tough. It was a tough moment, mainly because I didn't understand why I failed. There was no explanation. I asked, why didn't I make a team? What happened? Other guys did better. All right.
That's all you were given.
That's it, and as a coach, I remember I take that as a coach, and I make sure that I never, if I do turn away a kid for whatever reason, in a tryout format or whatever it may be, they understand why they got turned away, or they understand why they didn't get the call, why they didn't get to start at shortstop or whatever it was, and they know why, and they know what they need to get better at to improve. It's not just left with a big question mark of, okay, well, they did better. What did they do better at? How can I do better? What can I be better at for next season? So that was my big thing with failure for sure. My big introduction to it, as well as politics. But I remember my dad telling me that you're going to continuously learn in life, that it's not about what you know, it's sometimes about who you know. And bittersweet, I can say that I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been fortunate to know somebody and be able to get somewhere in life, and I've been unfortunate to not know somebody and not get to where I want to get to in life when I wanted to get there. So I had to go a different route. Still got there, still here today, but had to take a different route simply because maybe I didn't make myself aware enough, or I didn't introduce myself to the right person,
Now, and then why do you think most people fail?
I think most people fail mainly because they give up on themselves too early, too soon in the process, especially when it comes to health and fitness. I know myself, I was getting ready for a show when I worked with you, or I wanted to do a show at the time. Got big, broke one hand, still trying to play baseball, and then came back from that, got big again, and was getting ready to that point to where it was almost time to cut down, and broke the other hand, literally. And so for me, it was like setback after setback, and I was like, whatever, screw it. Let me just get healthy and be able to lift and work out. And the transition period of when I got healthy from breaking my second hand the following year was kind of during that same time frame of leaving ETA and coming into my own entrepreneurship. So competing in a show or doing bodybuilding at that time kind of got thrown on the back burner. It's still something I think about, still something that intrigues me.
Maybe one day.
Maybe, yeah, no doubt, for sure. Maybe one day. Like, the sport's not going anywhere. It's been around for years.
It's only growing, yeah.
It is. It's definitely growing. So I definitely, I've fallen suit into that same kind of mindset of give up, I guess, so to speak. And but for me, I don't think I really gave up. I think I just kind of went a different route, because I know once I started transitioning into working with athletes more than your everyday clientele of gain weight, lose weight, kind of in that bodybuilding mindset of, bulk and shred, and started working more with athletes who had to be big, had to be fast, had to be strong, had to be agile, more fully functioning athlete or fully functioning body. I found myself enjoying that more so than bodybuilding. I found myself enjoying something different. So I didn't really look at it as, it helped me, I guess, look at it as not being a failure or giving up, but more so just pursuing a different avenue or pursuing a different aspect. It's only because I learned what didn't work for me. And I think people quickly consider themselves failure because they don't take the time to reflect and understand, well, maybe I tried to do what I actually am good at, or what I'm actually meant to do, but I didn't go about doing it the right way, or I didn't go down the right avenue to get to where I wanted to get to.
They just throw in the towel.
They just throw in the towel, and that's it.
On to something else.
That's my faith. I'm a big believer that God has a plan. God's plan is always going to be bigger than your plan. And if you choose not to pay attention to the opportunities He puts in front of you for His plan, or you choose to ignore the constant things that continuously are happening to veer you off into another direction, you're going to find yourself going down the same pattern, down the same cycle, down the same road over and over.
So you have to be willing to fail. You can't be afraid of it. You have to almost embrace it, encourage it, bring it on, and then take the risks and be willing to fail, because then you can learn from those lessons and ultimately become who you were meant to become.
As to be a better version of yourself every single day, you're going to find yourself being at the top of the podium. You're going to find yourself being there pretty often. You may not always be in first place, but you're going to find yourself on the podium simply because of your habits, as well as your confidence in yourself, as well as knowing that every moment in life is just a moment, and if you can overcome that moment in some positive way, something good is going to come of it, versus approaching it with any sort of negative outlook whatsoever. So
Johnny, I think that was it, man. I think you just hit the nail on the head, and I just want to again appreciate the time. I really appreciate you being here today. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to having you on again real soon.
Thanks, brother.
Okay. All right.